Hello and welcome back to the end of another week. We're looking at the corn, which is very tall, and they have started harvesting some of the fields, but not the fields around here. My herbicide is doing very well, so I spent some time kind of raking all the dead stuff out because I will get in with the torch thing that we have to burn off all this extra stuff, but I didn't want to have all this brown stuff in there. I'd rather just kind of scrape it all off and stick it in the compost. So that is in progress. We didn't go to the déchetterie, so the carport is racking up stuff again. It's basically been cleaning and weeding and trimming. So yeah, I started kind of whacking this thing down. I still need to move that big pile of branches from the ornamental pomegranate there. I whacked that down a couple weeks ago, and they've sort of been drying on the side. So now that they're all brown, I need to kind of cut them up and put them somewhere. I think I mentioned last week that my barrel project was on hiatus, but it is commencing again. So you can see I mark it with the blue tape, and that way I know where to cut. And if I go around to the cork, I'm actually smart enough to mark which side of the tape I need to cut on. So yeah, it's 44 centimeters to that line, and I just take the cork out, I start there, and I use the little jigsaw and I cut all the way around. So then we get the half barrels, and then Francis has a tool that lets me go and put some holes in the bottom for drainage. So that project is finally happening. I checked in the pieces for the chicken run. So even though I haven't started it yet, at least I know that I have all the pieces, and I might start that this week. We'll see. We did have a big storm, so we lost another branch from this tree. We still haven't arranged for somebody to come out and potentially prune down. There's quite a few like dead branches in there, and I'm worried now that we're definitely getting back into the thunderstorm season. The wind yesterday was incredible. We had like no rain, and I'll show you the little gauge. Like all that rain came in last night. So up here, it's kind of the same. I've been weeding the path. This is where the chicken pen is going to go. I'm still, part of why I haven't assembled it yet is because I'm still trying to decide exactly how I'm going to do the predator proofing. So as you saw back there, it's aluminum tubes as the frame, and it comes with a roll of like the typical chicken wire. But that's not great for actually predator proofing the thing. So I also have half-inch wire mesh, hardware cloth, half-inch hardware cloth. So originally I was actually going to line the entire bottom with hardware cloth, but I think that's probably going to be an overkill. So I'm thinking now what I might do is just basically lay hardware cloth around the perimeter of the pen. And that way it should, I think it's 1 meter, so it should come out about 18 inches on one end and then 18 inches on the other end. And so if anything tried to dig under it, it would hit the hardware cloth 18 inches on this way. And then if it did happen to figure out where it could start digging in, it would have to dig like an entire meter in order to get inside, because there would be hardware cloth on the other side as well. And I'm hoping that that's not possible in one night. And so since I would be checking on the chickens every day, then obviously I would be able to see if any animals had attempted to get into the pen. The grass is coming back, which we are definitely going to have to keep on top of, because I showed you I showed you last week that we have our holes now. So Philippe, the guy that has the digger tool, is going to come out in 2 weeks and work on digging all these out. We went to the nursery to talk to them about trees. Unfortunately, he dashed my hopes on apricots. He says that the climate here is very, very humid, and apparently apricots don't like that. So he says I could try to grow an apricot, but it'll probably do well for like 3 to 5 years and then suddenly die on me, because it gets some sort of funky like fungus. And he says that basically the trees like just get eaten by the fungus and just die suddenly. So I'm thinking about it. I really want an apricot. He suggested an aprium, a blend between an apricot and a plum. But we'll see. I was hoping to just stick with like basic fruits. Up in the garden, the tomatoes had a massive hack job, and I just cleaned up the path and stuck it there. We're definitely at the end of the season, because we've been getting some rain, and with the rain, some of the tomatoes have started splitting. So I have a lot of splits. We eat them anyway as long as they're basically fine, but there's way too many tomatoes, and we definitely have some critters that are coming and starting to help themselves to the extra produce. And that's fine. Like I'm not at the point where I can actually like conserve it or anything like that. I don't have the skills yet. It's on my things to do list. But I have been talking about this melon, and we actually, it's got the fungus too, but look, we actually have like a decent sized melon down there doing its thing. And then we have another small one here and another small one here. So that's pretty cool, because last year I tried to grow melons and they didn't really work out for me. And then this year, this was just a volunteer. So I'm happy. We might actually get some homegrown melons. Tomatoes in that bed, I've given up on. I'm not even trying to really clean them up at this point. I had kind of fruitlessly gone in and tried to clean them up, but the squash is just insane and it's too much work. So I'm just gonna let this area kind of do its thing. Similar to last year, like the squash just takes over and then all bets are off. So again, I said it last year and I'll say it again this year. I am not putting squash in the garden. I threw it in because like I didn't have, like, this year was just so funky. It got off to a late start. Nothing was growing. And at some point I'm just like, F it, I'm going to put the squash in. And of course I regret it now. I have started dismantling the potato sacks. I haven't been getting very good potatoes. I've been getting some potatoes, but it's been pretty bad, because when I set these up, I didn't really understand what I was doing. And I did like a combination of our clay soil and the compost, but I used way too much clay and not enough compost, and thus, like, basically these sacks pretty much turned into bricks at some point, and obviously potatoes cannot grow in bricks. So we're not really getting too many potatoes. We are getting some that I'll use as seed potatoes for next year, but hopefully maybe by the end, over the next several weeks, I'll be dismantling the potatoes, and I'll actually be moving all of the stuff from this section somewhere else temporarily, because this section is where I want to start prepping to grow the asparagus. So I'm basically from about here down, I'll have at least one, if not two, rows of asparagus in the ground in that area. The rhubarb here, I might rethink. He's kind of doing a like failure to thrive thing, but this rhubarb is going crazy. There are different varieties, because I don't know if you remember, but I actually bought 2 of those and planted one on each side, and almost immediately the one that I had planted here died. So this is a replacement that I got from a local place, and it's doing a lot better. So we'll see. Yeah, green bean heaven is here. We have so many. I've picked a bunch, and we've started eating green beans. But I'm actually going to try to turn these into chips. I did that with the beets, and I was really enjoying the beet chips. So I'm going to try it with the green beans too. These squash are going crazy. I mean, I would show you the rest of them, but yeah, we have a couple of those monsters that I need to cut and get out of there. And the soybeans also need to be harvested. Those just like come in all at once, so they're basically ready. And I need to harvest them and then pull those out. The cucamelons are my like special novelty plant this year. Last year I did loofah squash, which didn't do so well. But this year I'm doing cucamelons. So you can see, look, I have, whoops, little cucamelons. And they look like watermelons. But they're actually cucumbers. And if I bite, yeah, so that's the inside. Some people don't like them. They said that they're sour and quite bitter. But I think you have to wait till they actually get to be like a decent size. I think if you were to pick something that was like a little smaller, it would probably be bitter. But like basically once it gets to like kind of the size of your thumb, this was the size of my thumb before I ate it. It tastes like a cucumber, except for it's like the size of a grape. It's a little sour, but I like them. Water, yeah. So 30 centimeters, and that literally came in like 3 hours last night. So that was pretty wild. Oh, and from here, if I zoom in, you can see there's another squash back there. So yeah, we're definitely in squash season. I'm making a ton of zucchini bread. I found a really awesome recipe that's like super moist. And because they're oil-based breads, I can actually freeze them really well. So that's my plan, is to make a ton of zucchini bread and freeze it. What else is happening? Oh, back up in there, I had all those mint pots. So I have been transplanting the cuttings from those into pots down here to propagate those. And we've definitely started harvesting the figs. So yeah, like they're pretty big. And they're very sweet. But yeah, these are, well, that's where it came from. There. Ficus, carica, whatever. But I like them. They're very good. So that's doing well. I did cut the big sucker that was here, and it's temporarily planted in a potato sack over there. Well, a better mixed potato sack. I put more compost in that for him, but I don't know if it's going to make it because I just left it big, and we'll see. But all these little ones I need to cut off as well, because we're just keeping it basically here. We don't want any growth down there. So I'll trim the rest of these and put them into little pots too, try to propagate them. Sometimes they take, sometimes they don't. I don't spend a lot of time faffing about with them. Blueberries are still pretty much failure to thrive again. This blueberry I completely lost. This one was doing okay, but now it's not looking so good. This one's looking a little better. That one's barely hanging on. But the tea plant seems to be doing pretty good over there, so he's happy. I'm going to leave him. But unfortunately, I have a feeling I'll be starting over from scratch with the blueberries. So I'm not really sure what happened here. These were legacy blueberries, and yeah, they just never really took off, despite the fact that I did amend this bed with like acid soil for blueberries and stuff, but yeah, you can see they're just not, they're pretty leggy. I mean, this one down here is decent, but like that one over there is like barely there. So yeah, I don't know. Things coming. This next weekend, we're going up to Bordeaux to spend with his sister because it is the annual wine velo tour. So that's velo is bike in French. And they invited us last year and it was fun. And Francis and I have not done any biking since last year. So we copped out and we're renting electric bikes. But yeah, so this week we're going to be hanging out here, but towards the end of the week we'll be going up to Bordeaux to spend the weekend with his sister doing that. And I'm finally picking up rats, hopefully, fingers crossed. We've been out here for over 2 years and I haven't had rats, obviously, in all of that time. And for those who know me, like, I'm a big, huge domestic rat person. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. So hopefully I'm not actually sure if I'm going to be uploading on Sunday next week or Monday, because we're going to be leaving Bordeaux Sunday morning, afternoon, and then driving back. And it's like a 4-hour drive. So depending on when we come in, I may or may not do an update on Sunday. But at the worst, it'll be here on Monday, and I'll let you know how that goes and introduce you to the rats. Assuming that I actually pick them up. And yeah, this week it's just going to continue. Like, I'm going to be working on the wine barrels some more, the chicken cage, cleaning up the yard, and all that jazz. So I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you next week. Bye.